Join me with my guest on Dollar Savvy, and we will be chatting on balancing your personal and family financial future. So listen up. And I have here with me Yolande and Yolande Marcial. I want to introduce Yolande. Yolande is a very good friend of my own. And in addition to that, Yolande is a woman of God, a
Yes.
mother, very great friend, a family person, an accountant, not yet retired. So I would be asking Yolande to share with us about her journey. Um, because as I said, we at 50 plus would have gone through a lot of financial setbacks or some sort of distress at some stage. And the decisions you would have made is what will have brought you to where you are today. And I spoke about decision making, how important it is for us to make decisions, why we should have faith in what we are doing. Because if you want a positive outcome, of course, you have to have a positive mindset. So I would be just asking Yolande to share with us about her journey, because I'm aware, Yolande, that you experienced too, I would say, serious financial setbacks. And I always admire how you, I'm privileged to know her business, you know. So I always admire how Yolande came out of it and the example for us out, you know. Yolande is still in the workplace, and I must say, as I mentioned before, admire her achievement of being a mother, friend, you know, giving back to society, etc. So Yolande, could you just share with us your first, I would say, big financial setback? And I would like you to share, because we are dealing with the third act stage, you know, persons
Mm.
some 50 plus.
Yeah.
And I know, you know, I'm aware that your first setback really started just prior to age
Yes.
50. So that
Yes.
is really a critical time, you know,
It
going
is.
on to the third act stage. Could you
Yes.
share with us, you know, that experience, what you experienced?
Well, at that point in time, simply put, my marriage failed,
Okay.
and my marriage failed. And for anyone who has been in a two-income home,
Yeah.
understands the enormity of moving from a two-income home to a one-income home.
All right.
And when you would think that you have started your preparation, you did all the things the financial advisors would have told you about, like yourself at the
Yeah.
times, you had your annuities, you were saving a particular portion of your salary every month and whatnot. But still, um, just pre 50s, you still would not have come out of major debts. So
Yeah.
you're still running close to month to month, and
Yeah.
losing 1 month is one person's income for the running of a home is a difficult thing.
Oh, definitely.
Yes, it's a difficult thing. However, as you would know, Jennifer, my faith is in God,
Yes.
and I cannot do this interview without talking about the fact that God is my strength. I mean,
Yeah, I
God,
can relate.
yeah, God was then and is now my everything. So um, I just had to hold on to God. But one of the things I would like to share with people is that in any setback you have, you must have at least one person with whom you can talk, because fear and isolation, those two things are the enemies, because it plays havoc with your mind.
And let me stop right there, Yolande. Those two things are what is happening right now,
Yes,
affecting people.
people. Yeah.
Fear and isolation. I
Yes.
am happy you brought that up.
Yeah, fear and isolation. So over the time, I would have formed good relationships, and I was able to speak to someone, a good friend, to kind of hold me, and to let me know that, it's not my fault, because one of the things is that you beat up on yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the first thing you have to do is to learn to forgive yourself, because you're like, where did I go wrong? How this is. And then you could start digging deep down, talking with people and pulling yourself out of it. And of course, your priorities will have to change in
Yeah.
terms of your spending habits and stuff like that. You have to sit down and work things out into what you could do now, what you could get rid of. My priority was not losing my home.
Okay. All right. How did you manage that?
How did I manage that? I reprioritize, as I said. So certain things I did without. I used to travel a lot.
Mhm.
So you just have to make a list and focus and determine what is now important. My my son was about to go into university, and you just have to say, well, okay, you have to make sure that things are stable, you have books, you have to prepare for all the eventualities where he was concerned. So I just stayed away from a lot of things. I love entertainment. I stayed away from that. I got rid of cable
Yeah.
television. um, I got rid of that. I mean, certain things just had to stop. I like to dress. I Not
Well,
that
I
I
know you didn't
stopped
get rid of
dressing.
your wardrobe.
No, not that I stopped
Uh,
dressing, but in terms of your priorities change. That's
yes.
basically it. And lots of prayer and intercession, Jen. Lots of
Yeah.
prayer.
Because
Mm.
Yolande, I know too, you're an accountant.
Yes,
So I guess that would have also given you that advantage in being comfortable to handle, your financial situation. But
yes.
what?
However, Jennifer,
Uh,
you feel,
mm,
sorry to interrupt you. Part of it, when that happens to you at that time, knowing my profession, you sort of feel ashamed,
yes.
because you
Okay.
should have planned for all eventualities, eh? So
Mm-hmm.
when these things happen to you and you see your resources being drawn down, your savings being depleted, you're like, well, did I do enough? I mean, I spoke with many people and told them how they should plan themselves. And there I
Yeah.
was in this situation, like, okay, you know, did you got yourself educated, as your mommy would have said, so
Oh,
that you could
yes.
be
But,
independent woman, but like you really needed a man.
yes. And this happened. Now,
Yes,
Yolanda, this time also, and you were mentioning situations that although it was as a result of your marriage, not,
mm,
separating. But now during this pandemic,
mm.
again, that is that a fear of the fear many people are afraid of that they can lose their homes,
Yes, yes,
and have
yes,
to put things in place
right,
to, to at least secure that and not lose their homes. And from
right.
what you're saying, it starts with your mind. They have to be very positive
Yes, you must
and
be very positive.
give up a lot. Look at the things that you spend money on, even though it may seem very small, something like the cable, cutting down travel, etc. But when you total all these expenses, it's a big cost,
Yes, it's a
you
big
know
cost.
so
Yes,
really and truly they need to look at their expenses
yes,
and you know reduce or give up some of the things so they would
yes,
have some savings,
yes, yes.
and
You
be
need to do
able to
that.
contribute towards
Yes,
their
yeah.
mortgage. Roland, what you said there about mortgage and fear of losing your mortgage, that is a
I'm losing your
real,
home. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, losing your home, yeah,
yeah.
that is really one of the main fears of people right now who has a mortgage,
Yeah.
and they may be thinking, oh gosh, they hope that that doesn't happen to them. But what you could look at, what I would advise and take your advice, is that I would recommend to those out there, our followers, who may be, fearful right now about not being able to maintain their mortgage or about losing their homes, is that from now, don't wait. Don't wait.
Yeah.
Start looking at what you can cut back on,
Yes.
and look at, because you would know what is your installment every month. So look at ways that you may be able, things that you could cut back on, so you can at least be able, to ride through this time.
Yes.
You know?
And one of the things, Jennifer, that worked for me is you have to be preemptive. approach your mortgage company.
Yes.
Don't
Yes.
be afraid. You see, because the fear is paralyzing,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't know what to do, and you don't want to take calls. You don't know if they call in
Right.
about the debt or anything like that. Approach them. And when
Yeah.
I approached them, the guy was very, very amiable. You
So good.
understand?
So
He
that's
was
great.
very, very, very
So
amiable.
Yolan, let me chat now or like ask you about your second, I will say, major financial setback, and that would have been when you lost your job. You want to share how you dealt with that and having a family to still support at that time.
So, yes, and when you, again, at the same time, having gone through the first setback, and
Mm,
then so your funds are dwindling and all of that, and then you lose your job.
yeah.
And after 50, it's a time to now, it's a struggle to reinvent yourself. You understand?
Mhm.
Because
Yes.
your view of yourself would have been that you will work until you're 60, you'd
Yes.
retire, you would get your annuity, your pension, and you will get your national insurance, and life will be smooth and hunky
Yeah.
dory. And
Mm-hmm.
then just after 60, 50, sorry, you lose your job, and all of those prepackaged plans go
Mm-hmm.
awry, you know? So you have to reinvent yourself. You have to talk to yourself. I mean, again, it's my spirituality that helped me. And again, having some one person with whom I can speak,
Yeah.
um, who told me, it's not your fault,
Yeah.
because you could beat up on yourself and go into a state of depression. And if you go into a state of depression and you can't pull yourself out, you become inactive, as with
Yeah.
as what is happening with some people during this pandemic.
Yeah.
They start to worry, they go into a state of depression, they go down, and they can't seem to pull themselves out. So you have to talk to yourself and think positively. Surround yourself with people who would lift you up. Don't
Yeah.
surround yourself with naysayers and girl, imagine that. No, no. Surround yourself with positive people, positive thoughts, and just attempt to reinvent yourself. Find something new. Take walks, go to the beach, try meditation where you'll be able to download, pray so that you could hear, well, for me, hear Holy Spirit speaking and try to guide you so that you don't do things. Because the worst thing to do is to make a decision in haste.
All right.
I
And
ended up,
Yolan,
mhm.
I know you have. How did that? And during the period that that period you weren't working. I know eventually you were able to be employed
Mhm.
again, but during that period, how did it affect your family?
Well, they were very affected in the sense that because it was a sense of not being so secure,
Yeah.
I tried to buffer them by
Mm-hmm.
not sharing too much, in
Okay.
terms of my fears. Um, but I believe some of it was transmitted from my vibes or body. I don't know how to call it. To sort of like, is it that we're poor now and we have to be on the street? Is it that,
Ah,
things like that. But thank God for extended family support.
okay.
Again, that is an important thing, and not being ashamed.
Wow.
Don't be afraid to share. Don't be ashamed to take help, because that was one of my things. I didn't know how to receive.
Ah, okay.
I didn't know how to receive because I was always giving, because I was always in a position where I could have helped. And now I was on the receiving side, and that is a bit humbling.
Okay.
You understand? That you now have to have a hand outstretched,
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't work for 2 years.
Wow.
I didn't work for 2 years. And in those 2 years, I saw all of my savings or everything that you planned for just deplete, you know?
Okay.
But with planning and speaking and praying and doing things, taking on projects, little projects, private projects, you know, where you didn't see yourself before, you know, being a companion, accompanying. I did that with someone. They wanted someone to go with them to a conference
Yeah.
because, yeah, they didn't want to go to this conference alone. And they asked if I would be willing to travel with them. And I saw it as a blessing from God, no strings attached. And I traveled and I got income and,
Yeah.
and I was able to pay some bills. So, I mean, you just reinvent yourself. That's not where I saw myself. When I did accounting, I didn't see myself being a traveling companion.
Yolanda, again, you said something about, releasing that shame.
Yes,
And that is something, again, that is important. And it is really, connected with the financial situation.
yes, yes,
When you release that shame, then you can decide and you open up avenues,
yeah, yeah.
for things that you can do that you may have never thought that you would do before.
Never
But what
considered.
you're focusing on is not the prestige of the job, is not at the level, but actually what income you can get,
That's
what
right.
money you can get from it, and
Yeah,
knowing that it will only be, it's for a time.
it's for
And
time,
nothing
right?
is wrong. It's as we say, it's honest work.
Yes,
you know
yes,
Nothing is
yes.
wrong with that.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And that is part, you see what happens is that society, the socialization
Mm-hmm.
that, which we go through as we grow from childhood to adulthood. You do this
Yeah.
exam, you pass, you'll get a good job, you think, and you go through those stages, and then life throws you a curveball. And what you were socialized to think of as acceptable, you realize you have to do something else. You
Yes.
understand? You have to
Mm-hmm.
do something else, because that's not where you saw yourself. But for you to live and to be able to provide for your loved ones, you have to just not look at the old social norms.
Great. Well,
Yeah.
Yolan, again, our time
Yes.
is limited, but I
Yes.
want to thank you, and really and truly what you did here, what you shared with us is proof that this is decision making
Yes.
and
Yes.
having faith in not just faith in God, yes, but also faith in yourself,
Self. That's right.
you know,
Yes.
and your ability, and keep that goal. You kept your goal. I mean, you have your family to see about. You want to be, you have to be employed. You still have your goals of yes. And I must add, for those, Yolan loves to travel, and
Yes.
even giving up that,
Yes.
knowing that she didn't have enough money to travel.
Yes.
Hey, she was blessed with someone who wanted a travel
Travel.
companion.
Yes.
And
Yes.
for me, that is sending out that positive energy outside
Yes.
there. When you
Amen.
send that positive energy, you get rewards in different ways,
I agree with you. That's the way
you
it
know,
works. Yes.
and you'll continue to be rewarded, Yolande, because of all the good you are doing and
I receive
sending
that.
out all the positive vibes.
Thank you
So
so much.
I want to thank you so much for joining us on this Dollar Savvy segment, for sharing your stories and really leaving some golden nuggets with the audience. And I am sure many of you listening out there would have taken from this chat, uh, some of the nuggets that you can use yourselves. Okay, so Yolan, be
Thank you.
blessed,
All
stay
right.
safe, stay healthy.
You too. You
This is a
too.
time that we have to be very careful outside it.
Yes. Thank you.
All
Okay,
right.
bye.
So
Okay,
bye for
bye.
now.
Bye
Okay.
bye.